Hi, it's Tim Cole, and I want to talk to you about the subject of honor and how faith in activation and even our capacity for faith is tied to honor. You know, life around us is full of discrepancies. I know from Isaiah 53 that my body has already been healed by the broken body of Jesus. And yet there are discrepancies in my body. I'm fighting for some healing in my body, and I know that what he paid for is real, and yet the reality in my body is different than that. So there's this discrepancy. And that's why faith is important in the kingdom of God. We know that it's by faith we get saved. By faith, it's grace and faith. And we know Ephesians chapter 2. We know Romans 10, 9 and 10, it's with the heart we believe, and then we confess with the mouth, and we have salvation. So it begins with this activation of faith. We need faith to fill in the gap. Actually, faith doesn't fill in the gap. He fills in the gap, and it's our faith that grabs a hold of what he's done to fill in the gap. So we need faith. But after salvation, our life in the kingdom still operates the same way, by faith. Romans chapter 12, Paul tells us that we operate in the gifts by faith. All those gifts that are given to us, they all operate by faith. Everything in the kingdom is activated by faith. So faith becomes really important in our lives. And I also believe that you can grow your faith. It's important to understand that we can have faith in God. That's Jesus in Mark 11. And then in Galatians 2:20, I love the verse, we're crucified with Christ, Paul said. Nevertheless, we live, yet not us. It's not us who live, it's Christ who lived us. And now we get to live by the faith of the Son of God. It's actually his faith in us that gets active and grow. We grow in his faith. But lest we focus on the function and the work of producing faith and miss the ability to invite the one who can fill in the gap for us, let me help you refocus a little bit on honor. In John chapter 5, Jesus said this. He said this about the Pharisees. No wonder you can't believe. This is the New Living Translation. No wonder you can't believe. For you gladly honor each other, but you don't care about the honor that comes from the one who alone is God. There's a wonderful revelation here. He said to the Pharisees, no wonder you can't believe. Why couldn't the Pharisees believe? The Pharisees believed in a lot of things. It's just that their belief was misplaced. Why can't you believe? Jesus said to the Pharisees. In other words, why aren't you believing in me? Why can't you? It's as if there was an obstacle that they could not overcome. And then he goes on to describe what that obstacle was. For you gladly honor each other. It's not that they didn't honor. They didn't have a value for honor. They would honor each other in public. But he said, you don't care about the honor that comes from the one who alone is God. Wow. In this way, Jesus connected the idea of having honor for Jesus, honor for God himself, and having the capacity to believe. This is mind-blowing. This is one of those mind-blowing emoji moments. It's our honor of God in the person of who he is. It's our value for who he is. We can call that a lot of things. Worship, we can call it adoration, we can call it submission. It takes many forms. But in this context, Jesus calls it honor. He said, you can't believe because you don't honor me. Wow. Again, mind-blowing. What are the things around you, the discrepancies that you need God to fill in the gap for? Can I suggest that the way to invite him into that gap, to fill in that gap for you, might not be to exercise your own faith. It might not be to actually find a way to increase your own faith. Although those things are not bad. I would suggest to you that based on what Jesus is saying here, our capacity to believe is actually activated and unlocked by our ability to value who God is. It's no wonder that John in Revelation 1 was in the Spirit on the Lord's day, and he saw the Lord. Now, John was in chains. He was in prison. He was in exile. Maybe not in chains, but he was in exile on the Isle of Patmos. Now, he needed some things. There were some discrepancies in his life. But the moment he was aware of the manifest presence of God, you know what John valued? He valued God. He valued God. And when God came, everything melted away. He was no longer concerned about what he needed or to build his faith. Oh, good. Now I can have more faith because I'll see you more clearly. I'll have more faith, Jesus. No, he just fell as a dead man before the one that he honored. And in that place of honor, the Lord lifted him up and gave him revelation about things to come. I just want to suggest to you, it's like Isaiah. In that place of honor, he fell as a dead man when the train of the Lord filled the temple. The glory of God filled the temple, and he fell as a dead man. And in that place, he had faith to believe. As the Lord said, who will go for me? Even in his undone state, Isaiah said, woe is me because I'm undone. Even in that place of feeling like I got nothing left. I'm totally broken. I am not worthy of who you are, Lord. You are the one that worthy. Even in that place of total surrender, faith rose in his heart. And when God had a question, who will go for me? Isaiah stood and he raised his hand and said, I'll go. What an amazing sight that was. I just want to encourage you with the words of Jesus. If you need faith, unlock it with your honor of God. When you sense him, melt in his presence. Not so that you can gain more faith, just because you're demonstrating what you actually value the most, him. It is honor to God that unlocks and activates our faith. So have faith in God by honoring him today.